I bought Amazon's best-selling watercolor set, and in this video, I'm going to give you a full review. As it turns out, I give it a B+. I think it's a versatile set. It's a cute little case. I was pleased with the color staining power. There's some really nice colors in there, and they have a lot of pigment. I thought it was pretty great. If we haven't met, my name is Josie. I've been making art for a long time, and I use a lot of mediums, including watercolor. So here we have the set. It is 160 colors. They have it in a couple of different sizes, and I just bought the biggest one. So it comes in this orange box. You can see there I have some Princeton brushes that I also purchased. Those are round brushes. I'll put the links to both of these things in the caption so you can check it out. I love those Princeton brushes, and they're quite affordable. First of all, holy crap, did I love this olive green box. It feels super solid. It has a nice bit of heft to it. Just the tin alone is pretty awesome. So I was initially pleased. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels like it has a lot of weight to it. It comes with a little pack of paper, and there's like a little plastic divider thing. Here's a swatch card. It also came with water brushes and another little piece of plastic, another brush. Oh, and there's the water brush that's inset. Now, one of the things that I immediately thought was, why are they all random? Like there is some order, you know, like the neon colors are all in one section, and maybe there's some color order, but it's really disorganized. I couldn't really get a rhyme or a reason. Some of the iridescent colors are all over the map, like they're mostly on the top, the left side there, the way I'm looking at it, but they kind of were in other places too. And as you can see, I'm like, how do I even approach this? I don't know. So I wanted to line up with my swatch card so that I could start swatching. And I knew, because there's so many, that I would, have trouble like keeping it all in line. And we're jumping ahead here a little bit because I forgot to hit record when I started. So one of the things that I'm doing here is I'm using a really small brush, and that would be my first criticism of this set, is that the cartridges themselves are real teeny. And if you are using a really big brush and you're trying to do big washes or something on a large piece of paper, you'd have trouble. It would get messy. You just spread the colors around and it would be tricky. So it's almost like this set is very good for detail work, but maybe not for more expressive work. Now, my cat loves to visit my table, and so we're gonna have a little moment with my cat drinking the paint water. I can't make her stop. This paint water is pretty clean, which is better than normal. She loves it, and she's always drinking it. Her name is Needles, and you can see I'm taking pictures of her. She's going to leave here eventually, and then we'll get back to our discussion. Look at how she just sits right on my watercolor set. That lunatic, so annoying. Okay, back to painting. As you can see, I did a quick spritz there. I have a little spray bottle with just clean water, and I spray everything down because it just makes the situation go a little faster. And I'm doing the iridescent colors first, and as you can see, they don't show up that well when you're working on white paper. I find the iridescent ones will work pretty well on black paper, but just for testing purposes, it's just white paper, and they don't really stand out. They don't have a lot of staining power. However, when I got to the traditional watercolors, I was very impressed at their staining power. They had a lot of pigment, and they were pretty loaded with colors. Now, one of the things that I didn't like about the set is the order that the colors came in. It just didn't make any sense to me. I knew I was never going to be able to find the colors I wanted. And so I am about to do something that's fairly unhinged. But as you can see, I numbered all the colors to map to colors inside the set. And I am now arranging them. So I chopped them up into little teeny squares, and I'm now putting them in color order so that I can rearranged the kit. And there you can see, I kind of skipped ahead, but there you can see I rearranged the kit, and they just have like little bits of like sticky glue. So they just popped right out of the plastic container. And now I'm swatching again. I know. You might think I'm crazy. I happen to love swatching. I think it's really fun. But even more than that, something that's really nice when you have a new set is to create a swatch card, no matter how big it is, even if it's small. A lot of times the way it looks in the set doesn't actually match what it looks like when you paint with it, which is a sign of good quality watercolor. You can see on the left side, all of those colors that are in the blue and green range and purple, they all look black. Like it's hard to even tell what colors they are. And that just means that they have a lot of pigment and not a lot of filler. But once you add a little bit of water and you put it on a page, then you can see what color it is. But in this case, it's such a big set that I wanted to have that full swatch, that full swatch card, just so I could find the colors that I was looking for. So I did my rainbow order, which, like I said, you might find it a little bit unhinged. And now I am going ahead with my template. I have a diamond template here that you can actually get. I'll put the link in the description, but I have a whole pack of 25 templates that you can get of all sorts of different abstract pattern designs, kind of like coloring. You could color with them or use watercolors. I just print them with my home printer. It's kind of a light gray line. So once the colors go down, it's actually kind of hard to see the lines. And one of the things that I'm doing here is I'm making sure to keep a little moat in between every color, because watercolor, when it's wet, if it touches another area that's wet, it will bleed. And if you have a lot of moisture on your page, if you're working with a lot of wet, then you could just create a lot of touching watercolors that start bleeding into each other, and that can actually be a cool look, but that's not what I'm trying to do with this design. So I'm trying to keep just a little bit of a thin line of watercolor, white, untouched, wet, dry watercolor in between every section of color that I'm painting, so that I don't have a lot of bleeding. And my idea here is just to get I'm testing out the colors. I want to see what happens when I'm just using kind of random colors from the kit, although they're not that random, of course, because now I've color ordered them, so I can kind of keep track of what I'm doing. And as you can see, I'm not mixing them anywhere. I almost always, pretty much 100% of the time, I am using some sort of a palette to mix my colors. And a lot of the watercolor sets that I buy have such a palette. And this one doesn't. There's no room for it. And so you'd almost have to have a separate palette to be able to mix your colors that is different than what's available in the kit. And in this case, I'm just not using it. I'm just using the colors straight out of the kit. But that isn't how I would normally paint. I would normally try to do a little bit more fine-tuned mixing. Another thing that I'm not using here, but I highly recommend it, would be a swatch card, because like I said, even though I've swatched everything and I do have a color map of the colors that I'm looking at here, you don't always know the strength of the color. You know, these colors, like I said, they're pretty highly concentrated. They have a lot of oomph, and it's hard to tell how much color you have on your brush. And if you have a little blank piece of paper, just a scratch piece of paper, then you can kind of test your colors and be like, oh, okay, that's, too much, too little, whatever. And then also when you're mixing colors, you can also do that. You can mix colors and then dab it onto your scratch sheet, and that can help you just to determine what colors you're using. Even if you have a mixing tray, it's hard to tell what colors they are until they go onto paper. Something that people will probably notice looking at the set is there is not really white. I think there probably is white there on the far right. I never use white with watercolor because I think it makes it kind of like muddy and flat. I much prefer to use the lightness of the paper and water. So you can think of watercolor like a veil that is going over your paper, and you don't need to add white paint. You can just use a little bit more water, and then that will control the lightness or the darkness of your color. So there you can see the final version. And some places there is a little bit of bleeding that happened there because it was a lot of fine detail, but gives you a sense of this watercolor set. Like I said, I recommend it. It's affordable. I'll put the links for everything I used in this video in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, thanks a lot for hanging out with me. If you liked everything, give me a like, give me a follow, give me a comment, tell me what to record for you next, and I'll see you in the next art video. Bye.